Computer. Lights. Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. All right. All righty. I've had way too much fun this morning trying to figure out what I'm doing with springs, so let's get started. All right. All righty. So it's been a while since we've made this kind of joke. So we will do that. There we go. Just along. Singing a song side by side. Side by side. You really don't think you were supposed to verbalize those acronyms? There we go. And we'll do this. It should be this. That. Wait, what are you doing? This. No. Dang it. This. Fine. There. And we need to make this. I don't know. And we'll just go in here and do this manually. There we go. There. Look, just like that. Are we hearing any music at all? No, I don't think we are. So when I'm silent, I'm just silent. Go. Maybe. All right. We'll get in here. We'll do this. Here we go. Just kind of sketching in Don Q here for us. Get a little bit of. I think he's just kind of going along being sage. Nope. You're here. Behold, behold, Andrew is here. Oh, I have the wrong brush going for me. There we go. There we go. Just kind of sketching in a little bit. So usually, and we had this sort of tradition before, the Mondays were Springs Mondays for my Springs comic strip, which is a comic strip about cute little robots that do, silly, robotic, stupid things. It's slice of life. And I've been recently realizing that my life is always a little bit better if I do a Springs comic on Mondays. It starts Monday out pretty well. It's kind of cute. There's no stress on this. It's not a serious book like Bellatrix is. Bellatrix has always been a serious sort of book. And not just behold, watch out. And so we've got kind of this is my, it's just a cute little strip, and that's all it is. Kind of sketching in here to kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. Kind of put the eyes just a little bit to the side over here so that it look like he's looking kind of this way. Don Q is sort of my sage, older character, and TB is always the young kid. What's funny is when I started this comic strip so many years ago, TB was my anagram, but now TB is the incomprehensible children of today. I find that to be pretty funny. That when I started this, it was like pretty straightforward who TB was. It was me, and now TB is like incomprehensible to me. Every time some kid does something completely incomprehensible, I'm like, well, that's going to be there. So it was funny because back in the day, Don Q was my dad, and now Don Q has become me. I find that even funnier, somewhat weird. Like, very strange. Oh man. So the little icon dudes, they just really don't show up very well, do they? I just now noticed that. There we go. We'll cross his arms. It's always funny when these things happen. So I'm always fascinated by. So I started drawing springs as a young guy in 2000. Yeah, right. I don't understand why it's so small though. It's like I can't even understand really what it was doing. That's so weird. Um, I was a young guy, and in 2000, um, the Charles Schultz decided to retire, and so when he did, I was like, "Oh man, I totally could do this." Right? I could easily draw a comic strip just like him. Oh yeah, yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all. And so I decided to do that and just do the skit or do a comic strip. It was sort of like Peanuts and Slice of Life. And what I ended up with was um ended up doing this Slice of Life strip, which was very funny and cute and everything like that, but it took some time for me to kind of get into the groove. And so, and it was hard. It was very hard. It wasn't easy at all. So I did this experiment where I said, well, um, if I can do 313 strips in 3 months, and 313 then is the number of strips that it would take to do every day except for Sundays. Because back in 2000, when you actually were trying to get into the papers, you would um you had to, you weren't the first strips wouldn't come out. You weren't allowed to do Sundays. So it was a matter of you couldn't do Sundays. So it's somebody calling. That is not somebody I know. Here. You called in the middle of my show. I'm sorry, but I'm not answering. Not when you're in the middle of my show. So anyway, I ended up with doing this strip. It was fun. Hello, Brent. And the funny part was that in about, I don't know, '05 or so, I decided, and nobody likes this. This isn't funny, yada, yada, yada. But, and it was, and I had, part of the story is that I had sent it to, um, I'd sent it to the actual, I'd sent it to the syndicates, and the syndicates were like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So I was like, okay, yeah, clearly this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. I get it. I get it. right? And so I was like, well, that's fine. I didn't, maybe this wasn't what I was supposed to do. Maybe this wasn't my calling. Who knows? Um, so I was content to just decide this was a bad idea. But my mom really liked it. And so um, she was like, no, you got to keep going. You can't let that one die. And so I kept going. And my mom passed away, and so I kind of kept going as sort of a memorial to her. And then my best friend was talking to me one day, and he said, "Whatever happened to that comic strip you were doing about the robots?" I said, nobody wanted to read it really, so I've been writing it for myself, just kind of right in the corner over here somewhere. And he was like, "So why don't you put it out on the web?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, they invented this thing called the internet." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yes, they now do these things where people are connected via things called PCs." And he was being super super snarky. It was very very funny. Um, and so I was like, "Oh, well, I guess that kind of makes sense." I never really thought of it. And so I decided to put it out on the internet. And oddly, it's very differently popular than the other things that I've done. Um, a lot of people like to read it, and from different from areas that I would not have expected. Like it's very popular with the 10-year-old crowd. Good morning, Bran. Happy Monday. Um, so it's good to see you here as well. I um, so I was explaining where this comic strip came from, and I do anyway. So that was sort of the story that we kind of got going on here. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I messed that up. Doing tails. This is called a balloon tail. Um, there we go. So there we go. Kind of put the tails in. Let's clean up our sketch a little. We'll move his head the other direction because he's kind of giving. Not he's not I'm not giving up on him, but it's sort of I don't know what to do with him sort of thing, right? So we're gonna kind of do this. The funny part is that like this guy here, apparently, uh, he was a character I drew for originally. I drew all of these guys in 2000, way back in the early days, back when the dinosaurs still roamed the earth and roamed the internet. So there we go. So anyway, this is a short show today. We only go until 10 o'clock on Mondays. So I'm gonna try. I usually one of the reasons that I do springs is because I can go through it pretty fast. So yeah, actually, apparently this particular shape of head is a video game character that is rather terrifying. And so, right back in the day, you had to murder a robot in order to connect to the internet. So, and it's funny because, of course, Don Q, who's this character here, has always been sort of a peaceful, happy-go-lucky sort of sage sort of guy. Like I said, it was modeled after my dad originally. So it's funny that I don't need that. Now we're going to go technical pin for this. There we go. So, interesting thing, I've learned a whole lot over the years about how we do comic strips. And one of the interesting things about comic strips is there is sort of an unspoken rule that says that you can't copy and paste. I don't know. We'll see. Haven't gotten there yet. I am trying to finish this comic strip. We are almost done with that Airship 27 piece, and I would love to finish that up. So I think I might do Airship 27 tomorrow. But we've also gotten really close to ready to start issue 1 of Bellatrix Rising, legitimate issue 1. So I kind of want to do that as well. What to see. But for today, we're just going to take it easy and do a little bit of work here with Springs. Anyway, what I was saying was that I have learned that you're not supposed to duplicate, so you can't copy and paste. So what I did was I copied and pasted the underdrawing, and then I'm going to redraw it on top here, which will make it the same shot, but it doesn't need to be, I don't know, maybe he's just saying something here. It doesn't need to be, I don't have to actually physically duplicate it, but it'll look the same. There we go. Kind of like so. And this way, he'll still look like he's the same in the same pose, but it won't be the same drawing. So yeah, it was. It's actually a very funny strip by Calvin and Hobbes, where he photocopied all 4 panels, and the entire thing is meta because the entire comic is as Calvin going on and saying, "My grandfather told me you're not supposed to photocopy panels in a comic strip. And so it cracks me up. That's the deal. That may not be a bad idea. It also would be good because I think I want to go, hang out at a Starbucks and write for a while and just really get a good solid script going. Speaking of Fred, we've got to, because you've got Fred and Ron confused. But speaking of Fred, I need to get back to that one too. That's another project that's on the to-do list that's tough. And part of that problem is just that I don't feel like it fits his project. My style's not fitting his project. And so I kind of have a problem with what's going on in that one. And I'm not sure what to do about that one. He thinks the project fits just fine. And I don't. And I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting started on it. And I don't need to get started. I just need to finish it. It's a big project, granted, but it's taken way too many years. We should finish that project while we're at it. Ron, yeah, it's all good. So Andrew, I'm working for a guy named Ron Fortier who was a comic artist back in the 80s. He's still a comic writer back in the 80s. He worked with Alex Ross and some of the other guys like that. And he kind of has semi-retired up here in Fort Collins. And he does sort of a get-together group up in Fort Collins. And we meet on the first Saturday of the month. And he has assigned me these books for an author in Connecticut, I think. She's out east somewhere, but her name's Nancy Hansen, and he does pulp books. So Ron does these pulp books. They're like the old classic 40s pulp books, and he loves that style. And I dig it too. I think it's really cool. It's just a neat style. But Nancy Hansen has been writing these pulp books, which Ron has assigned to me to do the illustrations for. So I'm doing the interior illustrations for these pieces, which is great. And what we are, the old dime books. That's exactly what they are. They're old dime books. The ones like those great books from the dime store books. Yeah. So anyway, there's a comic there, or a book that's being written called The Silver Pentacle, and it's written by Nancy Hansen, and she's on book 3 of it now, and I'm working on illustrating book 2, and I did book 1 a while back, and it's pretty cool. It's like I said, dime store sort of fare, and really cool and nicely done and nicely written. And she's a neat lady, and stuff like that. So anyway, so we're working on book 2 at this moment, and that's what we're doing. Except that today we're really working on springs. Awesomely drawn. I appreciate that. So that's what we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Is sort of Tuesdays and Thursdays are open days. Mondays are generally a springs day when I do springs. Wednesday is generally watercolor Wednesday, and we try to do watercolors. Pepper and I do. And then Friday, of course, is artist check-in. And we try not to get mired like we did this week in artist check-in. It doesn't always work. But we try. There we go. You were there for the first book being drawn. Lines, double check, make sure our artwork is solid. I feel like I want Don Q to have sort of form. That, you know, they're supposed to verbalize it. Just saying. You know, kind of give him that look there. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm losing my action. I'm going in and out. Oh no, help me. Okay. We'll see what happens. Maybe things will go well, maybe things won't. We'll see how that goes. Okay, I'm going to take my ink layer and bring it down. I'm going to kill my sketch layer. I'm going to take that ink layer and I'm going to merge it with the 4-panel layer. I have to do that because I've dropped off the bottom and the side over here, and if we don't, we end up kind of in a mess. Yeah, looks like we've got kind of a internet screw around going on here. I'm going to duplicate the layer and put the duplicate underneath the 4-panel right here, so that we've got the 4-panel layer and then we've got another layer underneath it. I'm going to take my fill tool. I'm going to go into black. His arm pads are always black, or shoulder pads, I mean. So we're going to do that real quick. Tap, 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 like so. His color is this like military green sort of thing, like so. And kind of a guide up here as to what color he is, right? So we're just going to tap, tap, tap. Kind of grab all of his colors there. Right there. Maybe we'll come back. No, it's not a mic problem. It's internet. It's the internet. I don't know what happens, but about this time every day, we get spotty internet, and I can see it up here. I've got 3 yellow bars, which indicates that we're having issues. And, you know, it's one of those things. I don't know what else to do. There's not much I can do, really. Okay, so we're just going to go through here and just tap in the colors. But the time is short because I don't have... I only have until 10 o'clock. So we'll just keep doing what we're doing. I hope for the best. So TB, who believes that his name stands for Tiberius, TB, of course, looks just like a tennis ball. And that's part of the humor and the joke of TB. Right? So part of the running gag behind TB is that he believes firmly his name is TB for Tiberius. We'll go over here. Doot, 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 doot. There we go. Oh yeah, that's absolutely. Again, I've had this discussion, I think, with you at some point in time. I can go wired to the router, but that's going to require holes drilled in the floor. And that puts a hole in the ceiling in our living room, which means that the line will have to, Cat5 will have to come down and then go across the ceiling in the living room. And I'm not sure I'll be able to get away with that one as well as we think. If I'm really clever, I might be. What we actually are thinking of doing is moving the router up here. And so that way I can put the 70 ohm cable on the outside of the house, run it upstairs to right here, and then run it through the wall here, and then put the router here for the house, or put the router over there for the house. And that would allow the house to have it, have complete router, and then put a booster for the basement. That's actually what I'm thinking of doing. So there we go. We've got our colors in. But that's a big mess at some point in time here. We go for 34 on here and say multiply. Take my pen. Real quickly hit save. But if I put the router right there and then run a Cat5 right around the corner here and go straight into the computer, I'd be straight in. And I'm thinking I'm going to do that. But that's a big project and kind of a thing that we have to kind of work on. So that's going to take some time. We've also got lights that we want to put in downstairs in the living room that we just got that would be really cool. So there's work to be had in the living room. So this is not this is not outside of the realm of things that we can do. Right. So we're going to do this. Go right here. So putting in the shadow like this. Right, we just kind of go along here and just kind of put in a shadow so that there's some depth to these guys, you know? And that's what I'm thinking I will do. That should be pretty decent. Right, we'll come down here. We're just going to give a little bit of shadow along here to kind of give just. It's so funny. The initial version of Don Q, when I first started drawing him, he's so staid and stuck and stiff. And over the years, he's become more bendy. And Cat 7 might be what I'm running anyway. I just don't think my card can take Cat 7. We'll have to see. Not 100% sure. So we'll see. So my schedule generally that I was just talking about, where I talked about doing springs on Monday and watercolor Wednesday and all of those things, doesn't it depends on whether I'm on deadline. So I just got off of a high deadline, high stress deadline. So I'm no longer stressed out. When I'm on deadline, all days are dedicated to whatever deadline I'm on. If I'm on and doing, for example, commissions or things like that, all of my time is dedicated to it. So there's that. So at the moment, I think we're back to a relatively normal schedule. I may still do work on Wednesday because I want to get comics out. My wife has been kind of pushing a little bit to edit and re-release Springs so that we've got this as a larger book ready to go. Okay, we put in that. So the other side to this, of course, is that we do the highlights as well. We're just putting in some highlights to give it just a little bit of depth, right? Because we kind of wanted this to look like it's, I mean, it's a comic strip, so I'm not like, sitting here kind of worried that it's not that. Maybe I mean we'll have to see. I mean, really honestly, I think putting in a Cat 5 would be fine. Because I mean, we're running completely wireless right now. Everything's running well. The question really is, am I getting interference while running this? I mean, is that what's going on? Is somebody cranking up something that's interfering with my wireless connector, which is entirely plausible. Okay, so here we go. And what we will do now is I'm going to move this over here. I feel it's disorienting to do all of those sort of kind of things where it's backgrounds. Let's get in here and find us some backgrounds. I like using the plane. It's a pretty straightforward sort of thing, right? And we'll pick some part of the plane that hasn't been used in a while, like this part over here. And since they're traveling, yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. I feel like we've got too many just creatures moving around here. You know what I mean? I feel like there's just too much stuff going along. So, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to move this guy to here. because they're not moving in the last panel, I'm just going to take this guy right here, copy and paste, right? And then we'll put him here like so. Because this last panel, nobody's moving, right? And take this and close it, do not save. I'm going to hit open. And one of the other things we do here is I'll go into my generic background sort of doodly wops. Got these generic backgrounds that I use. Shared resources. You. And I like to use these watercolored backgrounds because they're fun. And they give sort of a little bit of whimsy to the back panel of this, right? So we'll put this in right here. And just gives a little bit of whimsy to it. You can kind of see that it's just kind of, well, you don't know what he's doing. He's like, whoa, what do you mean? Ooh, I didn't think about that, right? That's totally what's going on here. He's like, I didn't think about that. I'm going ahead and real quickly just do a tonal correction. And what we're doing here is we're just making it so that it's lighter, right? Because we want to make it lighter here. But we also kind of want to bring the color up like so. We also kind of need to kind of straighten out that background just a little bit there. Okay, we're going to grab it. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted to do. We're going to oppress the cell here is what we got to do is kind of go in here and do this. Then we can do this. And that works. Deselect. 10-minute warning. We're almost done. Almost there. So we're going to take then our backgrounds and go beep, beep, and make it all one. We'll go to the 4 panels copy directory here, and we grab everything around the panels, and we trim so that they're all clean. Hit deselect. We clear the panel background in the background here, and we can clear the support, right? And then that should clear everything except for what we've got here on this, the gradients directly themselves. And this, we clear that as well. And we are ready with a new comic. So hit save real quick. Make sure it's saved. Right? And we're just going to take and we're going to say canvas size. Bring it down to, you know what we should have done? We don't usually kill this so I can see where the canvas size needs to be brought down to. So we're going to do change canvas size. Bring it down just a little bit closer here. There we go. Now we kill that background. And we save as one very large size version of it first as a PNG. So we make sure that it's got the transparency in the background, right? It's already set for the date and 259. And then we go on ahead and we wait for it to do its thing. It takes it a second. PNGs are kind of tough because they require us to do a transparency. Then we do change image resolution, and we've got to get it to a width of 1200 by 628, that's the base size for Instagram and Facebook. So this allows us to actually put it into Instagram and Facebook in the correct way. And we'll say save as, and we just usually put this in with SM to indicate that it's small. Do not save. This takes just a second here for us to do this last piece. There's our 10-minute warning. I'll go out to my personal drives and I go over to Instagram uploads. I have my hashtags set. So these are all my hashtags set for everything. So whenever we do all of these loads, all I have to do is just grab stuff. So we'll go to Facebook. And what we really actually go to is we go to the GS Davis business site because that's allowed on Meta. Excuse me. I am so sorry. So we wait a second here and we say create post. And I usually bring up my Facebook up onto here, obviously. So we're going to do this. We'll add a photo. Doodly doodly doo, Guy the artist. Go to Springs 2022. This guy's small. And it always says that the size is wrong. It can't be 628 by 1200. It must be 627.7779 by 1200 or something really weird. It is so strange how it doesn't do it right. I don't get it, but that's all right. I let it trim 1/2 of a pixel off of the top and it makes it feel better. So it still does whatever it needs to do here. We say today's Springs comic for your entertainment. And then I put hashtag Springs comic for Facebook, and then over here on Insta, I actually copy all of these over and enter a location, Arvada. Because I like to always say I'm from Arvada because it makes me an Arvada artist and that tags me as Arvada, which always makes people happy. There we go. And there is the ping from Troy to say that he's set up and ready to move to Spring or to Geek Tank. And you guys should see on Facebook coming out on GS Davis Art. You should see the post. In theory. You never know. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it just explodes. Oh, man. So there you go. Not always works, but yeah, sometimes works. So there we go. Do. And I can't see it, of course. I don't know where the heck it went. That's all right. We're working on it. There we go. It's a little bit complicated because it's difficult to I want to share it on my personal page, and I can't really do that. Is easily comic for you all. Happy Monday. Here we go. Posting it out to my page now. And we are clear. And that's it, guys. We managed to pull off a Springs episode issue in 55 minutes. So there we go. So that's the way that goes. And now you have a Springs comic. And if you were here for the whole hour, you watched me do it. I would like to thank Brent and Bran was here for a second or two. I don't know where he went after that, certainly. And Andrew, of course, was here. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Andrew was here, and I appreciate having Andrew with me today. So I will be back tomorrow, and I think I like what Brent's suggesting. I'll probably just go ahead and finish up that piece for Airship 27. So we'll go ahead and do that tomorrow. Starts at 9 o'clock, of course, as usual. You already saw it on Insta. Okay, good. So it's out on Insta. It's out probably twice on Facebook. So there you go. So there you go, guys. I'm going to head on over and work with Geek Tank now. And of course, I will see you all tomorrow. Oh, you're usually in your DAV office. I understand. So, but you're off today. Yay! You could join me. If you can join me some other time, that's also cool. That's the cue. Says, say goodnight, Gracie. So, good night, Gracie. We'll see you all tomorrow. And until then, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye.
Computer, good night.